Hello and welcome to John's Author Diary for the week ending July the 11th, 2021. Before we get going, I just want to say that I have started posting stories on my YouTube channel. So the first two are already up. So if you hit like, if you hit subscribe, the notification bell, you won't miss out on those. In terms of writing, I've had a busy week. I finished going through the edits of Black Death Survival. I now need to add about 10 more scenes to sort out some of the timeline issues. It's been an interesting process, sometimes frustrating, but ultimately satisfying, though I am really tired now. There isn't enough coffee in the world for how I feel. I did manage to do some rough outlining of book two of the Crucible of Shadows series, which has the working title of A Murder of Crows, but that will probably change as it does sound a bit too much like a mystery novel. So, my plan is to have a decent outline for the second and third books in that series by the end of August, mainly because I've got to submit a brief for book covers. So, get those written up, get them to the designer, just so I know what I'm doing and the designer knows what he's doing. In terms of reading, I finished Robin Hobb's Rainwild Chronicles. Last book was called Book of Dragons. Highly recommend that series. And even though it was a bit slow going to start with, it definitely made for a very good story in the end. I also listened to A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle, which is the first Sherlock Holmes story. Now, I've read this several times before. This one was read by Stephen Fry, so he has done the entire series, and you can get it for one Audible credit, which is awesome. So I downloaded that, and I have to say, I always find this one a bit weird because you have the part of it which is the usual Dr. Watson gushing over Holmes, recalling the tale, and then just slapped in the middle is a short story set in America, just to give you a backstory of the characters with no pretense of it being recalled by Watson. So a bit weird, but definitely worth the read. I also read a writing craft book called Writing Vivid Settings by Rain Hall, which was excellent. If you're a writer and you want to read a book on writing settings, this for me is the definitive one. So definitely check that out. I also finished the Black Gods anthology, which was a collection of fantasy stories about thieves, assassins, mercenaries, all that stuff that is in my wheelhouse. So that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. There's some excellent stories in there, particularly by Joe Lollo, Michael J. Sullivan, Anthony Ryan, people like that. I read that as part of my ongoing Ray Bradbury challenge, which if you've been following me for a while, you probably know about this. But if you haven't, this is where you read a short story, a poem, and an essay every day for 1,000 days. This is the second time I've done this, and I'm currently on day 339. So I'm a third of the way through the second challenge. So it's definitely worth doing. It's taught me a lot about writing. It's probably the best thing I've done as a writer, just to learn how to construct stories, how to get ideas. There's a lot in poetry that gives you solutions to problems in writing and to just spark little ideas that you wouldn't necessarily get if you just read novels. Next week is the final week of the school term. So unless my son gets sent home to isolate for COVID stuff, then my aim is to write those final scenes for Black Death Survival. Then I'll do what is called an audio edit, which is where I get Zoom text to play the manuscript to me, and then I can make any final tweaks before sending it to the editor. Now, I really hope I get this done by next week because it's been hanging over me since 2017. I think it just needs to be done. I'm happy with the story, happy with everything that I've done to it. So it's just a case of getting that final push, getting the final stuff done, and then getting it out there. So I've had no questions this week, but if you do have a question, ask in the comments. I will answer them on the next week's show. Remember to like, subscribe, and do check out my stories that I've started posting. I've posted the Gibson Continuum and Eating, which they're on the YouTube channel, so check those out. So until next time, cheerio.